As the shimmering lights twinkled and the music reverberated throughout the opulent hall, Tran Vien guided his younger sister Onion into the lavish party of daimyo. Onion, rarely spotted at extravagant events, donned a simple dress that made her the target of mockery. Look at that girl, so out of place. Tran Vien's anger flared instantly at such humiliation. This time, he was truly infuriated. A night had passed since Tran Vien's accident. Early in the morning, his phone rang with a call from Trio Ngok. Tran Vien, have you made it to Han City yet? There's a live event at Daimyo tonight. Remember to attend. Tran Vien answered, explaining, I've arrived, but there's a bit of an issue. I had an accident. He didn't hold back and spoke candidly. Behind him stood Vuong Mong Mong and Wet Ling Swang, both adorned in fresh attire. On the surface, they appeared unscathed, except for Wet Ling Swang, whose head was bandaged. What kind of accident? Are you all right? Which hospital are you at? Xiao Li, call the driver. Hearing about Tran Vien's accident, Trio Ngok became flustered with worry. Compared to Daimyo, her concern for Tran Vien was much more pronounced. I'm fine. Really, I've been discharged. Don't come over. I'll attend the event tonight. Tran Vien tried to reassure her, but her evident worry warmed his heart. At least he still had sincere people around him. Oh, there's no need for that. Just stay home and wait for me. Tran Vien added a few more comforting words before hanging up. Meanwhile, Wet Lin Swang quietly observed, feeling a newfound calm wash over him. Even after the accident, an idea sparked in Wet Lin Swang's mind. Perhaps being disfigured wasn't so bad after all. Through their interactions, he realized that Tran Vien was not like the ordinary folks. He valued ability and intellect far more than mere appearances. At this moment, the thoughts of Wet Lin Swang had transformed. While he once held a deep confidence in his abilities and took pride in his appearance, he no longer viewed himself in the same light. Yet, beneath the surface, a tinge of sadness lingered within him. Observing the figure of Tran Vien, Wet Lin Swang reflected, after all, people inevitably judge based on looks. Who could bear facing an unattractive person day in and day out without feeling discomfort? Wet Lin Swang felt as if he was merely a shadow, a mere assistant to Tran Vien. It was certain that they would have to interact frequently, and over time, Tran Vien might grow weary of him. After ending the call with Trio Ngok, Tran Vien turned his gaze back to Wet Lin Swang. Wet, I have a task for you. Keep an eye out for any beautiful villas in Han City. I'm looking to buy one. As usual, Tran Vien assigned tasks to Wet Lin Swang without hesitation. However, this time, his sister, Vuong Mong Mong, disagreed. Brother, if you go on like this, you'll end up hanging from a streetlight. Sister Nguyen is injured, yet you still command her. Don't you feel a twinge of guilt? After listening, Tran Vien chuckled foolishly. Oh, Secretary Nguyen is the person I trust the most. She's incredibly reliable. Who could possibly say that I'm exploiting others? Vuong Mong Mong, being only 18, couldn't grasp Tran Vien's true intentions. Although Tran Vien had just given Wet Ling Swang her usual task, this time felt different. He was entrusting her with a special sentiment. You think so too, right, Chi Nguyen? However, before Vuong Mong Mong could finish her thought, she was taken aback. At that moment, she noticed Wet Ling Swang had tears streaming down her face. He was crying. The reason was clear. The task Tran Vien had assigned him had touched his heart. The two siblings felt uneasy, as Vuong Mong Mong couldn't fathom why Chi Nguyen was suddenly in tears. Tran Vien was also deep in thought, questioning if he had gone too far. Yet he felt what he did was right. Miss Mong Mong, you've misunderstood the boss. He doesn't look down on me for my appearance. He treats me just the same. That is the greatest recognition and kindness he could show me. Wiping her tears, Wet Ling Swang explained that her tears were not of sadness, but of emotion and joy. Tran Vien's treatment was fair and unchanged, which was the biggest recognition and encouragement for her. Don't worry, boss, she assured. I will definitely take this task seriously to ensure your satisfaction. After saying this, Wet Lin Swang bowed respectfully to Tran Vien. From that moment on, her feelings shifted completely, and Tran Vien's importance in her heart grew immensely. That evening, at the grand event held by Daimyo, the extensive promotion, along with Tran Vien's endorsement, attracted a multitude of attendees. When Vuong Mong Mong and Tran Vien arrived, she was instantly overwhelmed by the spectacle. Is this really the event he's participating in? It looks so impressive. Vung Mộng Mộng had never witnessed anything like it. She felt like a curious child, looking around in amazement. Isn't that Kakakon? I can't believe I'm actually seeing him. In one corner, a well-known young man was wearing overalls and playing basketball. The scene immediately drew a crowd of fans. I've heard they've been fans of Kakakon for 2.5 years, she exclaimed. Oh my, is that Chun Chun? His smile is so sweet. Here Vung Mộng Mộng spotted numerous stars. Previously, she had only seen them on her phone, but now she was seeing them in person, which thrilled her. Mộng Mộng, you'll have to attend events like this often in the future. Today, I'm just getting you used to it, so you won't feel nervous later. Tran Vien held her hand and reassured her that she would encounter many such events. It was simply about broadening her horizons today. Having fun was enough. But she hesitated. Brother, are we really dressed appropriately? Everyone else is in formal suits, while we seem a bit too casual. Upon hearing his sister's words, Tran Vien felt a flicker of surprise. However, he couldn't blame Wang Mengmeng for her innocent perspective after all. The coolness of that battle god shirt was lost on her. To him, the usual social norms merely constrained the ordinary. He, on the other hand, could wear flip-flops tonight and still command respect. With a confident smile, Tran Vien conveyed this spirit to his sister, yet the naive Wang Mengmeng remained oblivious to it all. Just as Tran Vien finished speaking, a pair of snide remarks floated in from behind. Two elegantly dressed women were mocking them. Look at that girl, she's so out of place. How did she even get in here? Upon hearing this, the smile on Tran Vien's face vanished, replaced by a cold, steely expression. Those women had crossed a line. Wang Mengmeng overheard their taunts, and a wave of insecurity washed over her as she clutched her dress tightly. How would Tran Vien retaliate against such mockery aimed at his sister? Would he respond with a masterful comeback? One of the women, who had been particularly condescending, was met with a swift slap from Tran Vien. Furious, she growled in response, only to receive another slap, this time even harder. When her brother rushed over to intervene, she called for him to take charge. But to her surprise, her brother also delivered a solid slap. Soon after, her brother found himself kneeling before Tran Vien, fearful of retaliation. Tran Vien had just brought his sister to the hall, only to be mocked. Upon hearing this, Wang Mengmeng felt a surge of discomfort, and the smile that had graced Tran Vien's face disappeared. Who did these arrogant fools think they were, daring to ridicule his sister? With that thought in mind, Tran Vien strode toward the two women, determined to issue a fitting warning. Being insulted unjustly was something he simply could not tolerate. It was crucial to understand that in Han City, there was no room for anyone to bully Tran Vien. Such a person had yet to appear. Ladies, I suggest you mind your words and actions, Tran Vien said bluntly, issuing a direct warning. For him, this was already an act of great restraint. If they had been daughters of other wealthy families, the response would not have been limited to mere words. What do you mean by lady? Who are you calling a lady, you hick? One of the women bristled at being referred to as a lady, while the other jumped in. What are you talking about? What gives you the right to tell me how to behave? It was truly laughable. Not only did they fail to recognize their own faults, but they also grew bolder in their mockery of Tran Vien. Realizing the nature of his adversaries, a surge of anger welled up within him. He decided to teach them a lesson they wouldn't forget, showing them that not everyone could get away with ridicule. Just as Tran Vien readied himself to unleash his wrath, Wang Mengmeng suddenly tugged at his shirt. She was reluctant to escalate the situation and certainly didn't want her brother to fight on her behalf. Brother, please let it go, she pleaded. Wang Mengmeng had never encountered such a scene before arriving in Han City. She was just an ordinary girl from the countryside. Therefore, she felt that causing trouble outside shouldn't be done lightly. However, Wang Mengmeng was unaware that while others could tease anyone, they must never touch Chen Yuan. I'll give you one more chance. Apologize to my sister. Chen Yuan stood firmly, blocking Wang Mengmeng from behind, his cold gaze piercing through the two women. If Chen Yuan discovered that they still refused to apologize, he would undoubtedly become relentless. Yet, upon hearing his words, the two women had no intention of apologizing whatsoever. On the contrary, they appeared quite smug. One of them provocatively remarked, "Apologize for what, Wang? Do you have any idea how many fans I have? You're not worthy." But before she could finish her sentence, Chen Yuan's slap struck her face. The sound echoed through the entire hall, shocking everyone present. The scene unfolded too abruptly. Consequently, Chen Yuan and the two women instantly became the center of attention. "You dare to hit me! You dare to hit me!" They could hardly believe that someone they deemed unsophisticated would actually lay a hand on them. They had to understand that she was a noble young lady even online. No one dared disrespect her. Yet here she was, struck by someone they considered beneath them. However, before she could catch her breath, Chen Yuan delivered another slap to her face. Now, both her cheeks were swollen, resembling delightful slabs of meat. Resounding slaps drew the attention of everyone gathered. As they gazed at the woman sprawled on the ground, murmurs began to circulate. Who is she? To dare hit a woman shows a complete lack of dignity, not a shred of grace. All anyone could see was the aftermath, the beaten woman, ignoring the events that led to it. This is why so many flocked to follow the crowd. They had no clue what was truly happening. They simply followed blindly. In Chen Yuan's heart, this only made him scoff coldly. What a bunch of ignorant people who decreed that women shouldn't be hit. Women with filthy mouths deserve a taste of their own medicine. Spare me the false gentlemanly attitude. I owe you nothing. Girls like these are spoiled by you men. Amidst the cacophony, a silver-haired man appeared with two bodyguards in tow. Who dares to cause trouble on my territory? This man was the little brother of Hao Tian, Xiao Bai. He had once shared a drink with Chen Yuan, but upon seeing the beaten woman and Chen Yuan standing before her, cold sweat immediately broke out on his brow. Xiao Bai instinctively exclaimed, Sir Yan, Sir Yan." He could hardly believe that the one causing the ruckus was none other than the legendary CEO, Yan. Since their last encounter, the CEO's status had soared, now becoming a mythical figure. Who would have thought to meet him here today? What luck! At that moment, Xiao Bai wasn't even thinking about the beaten woman. All he felt was that being here today was worthwhile just to see his brother Bai. It was like seeing a glimmer of hope. He believed that as long as elder brother Bai intervened, this rustic fool would undoubtedly face dire consequences. Finally, Bai Xiao has arrived. This bumpkin dared to lay a hand on me. He must be held accountable. The woman threw herself into Xiao Bai's arms, sobbing and wailing about her mistreatment, insisting she must be protected. But in the very next moment, a familiar pain struck him as he found himself on the receiving end of a beating. The one attacking him was none other than the elder brother Bai, the very person he had always admired. Xiao Bai raised his hand and roared, "Silence! You don't belong here, so step aside." The elder brother's voice dripped with authority. "I'm sorry for this girl. I've only met her a few times and didn't realize the severity of my actions. If I've offended anyone, I apologize on her behalf." After dealing with the woman, Xiao Bai quickly turned to Chen Yuan, showering him with flattery. At that moment, the image of elder brother Bai seemed to fade away. He resembled more of a die-hard fan of CEO Yan. I can't be mistaken, right? This is still the notorious Bai family brat, isn't it? How has he become so courteous? What kind of status does this person hold that even Bai Xiao is too afraid to raise his head? Onlookers were left puzzled by the scene. Meanwhile, at the back, Wang Mengmeng was blushing furiously. She realized that just moments ago, Chen Yuan had defended her with such dominance, resembling a male lead in a drama, while she felt like the frail female lead. Despite Chen Yuan's earlier bravado, Wang Mengmeng couldn't help but relish this feeling. Consequently, her affection for him increased by 5 points, now reaching a total of 85, almost tipping the scales towards a dramatic turnaround. My brother transforms into Batman for his sister. He'll play the guitar in front of everyone, just to show how handsome he is. At the same time, Yueling Song was in her hotel room, staring at her phone. She seemed to be mulling over certain matters. Chen Yuan had shifted her perspective a bit, yet she still carried out the mission assigned by Li Xiao. Staring at Li Jiamoku's phone number, Yueling Song hesitated before dialing. She wondered whether she should continue reporting information. As these thoughts swirled in her mind, she recalled that man. Through their encounters, Yueling Song realized that he was not as bad as the rumors suggested. In several situations, Chen Yuan not only refrained from being cruel but also protected her. For instance, during the car accident yesterday, Chen Yuan had thrown caution to the wind to save her. Just considering this point, he could be deemed her lifesaver. Furthermore, after that, Chen Yuan didn't scold her, he continued to assign her tasks as usual. This impartial approach left Yuling Song's mind filled with thoughts of Chen Yuan. No matter how hard she tried to shake it off, it was futile. Now, she was caught in a dilemma. One side represented her true boss, Li Jiamoku, while the other was the temporary imposter, Chen Yuan. Ultimately, Yuling Song was faced with a critical decision. She no longer cared as much and called Li Jiamuk. "It's me." At that moment, Li Jiamuk, who was in Mado, answered the call. He was very focused on eliminating General Director Yin, and Whitling Song was the most crucial link in this phase. Young Master can begin to take action now. After receiving the call, the hesitation in Whitling Song's eyes melted away. She was no longer disturbed by unnecessary emotions. At this moment, she transformed back into a cold secretary, devoid of excessive feelings. "I have secretly acquired numerous scattered plots of land. Acting now could impact the core planning area of the film city." Whitling Song was confident that if they acted immediately, Chen Yuan's Film City project would face serious issues. It could even lead to the failure of the Film City project. Good. Excellent work, Lin Song. You've worked hard these past days. When you return, I won't treat you unfairly. Upon hearing this, Li Yamuk's face lit up with joy, and a smile crept onto his lips. However, this smile appeared somewhat sinister. "Young Master, you flatter me too much. Please don't say that." Feeling praised by Li Jiamuk made Whitling Song tense up immediately, as he rarely complimented her. Meanwhile, Whitling Song was also very humble in front of Li Jiamuk. Yet, the more she acted like this, the more she found herself dependent on him. At this point, memories of her childhood flooded back. When she was just 5, she found herself in dire straits, dressed in tattered clothes. Every day, she scavenged for scraps to fill her empty stomach, living in a world of coldness and hunger. Until one day, someone appeared. The person who saved young Whitling Song was none other than Li Jiamuk, with Li Jia standing behind him. Whitling Song always felt that if it weren't for Li Jiamuk, she might have long starved to death on the streets. Therefore, from the bottom of her heart, she submitted to Li Jiamuk. "Lin Song, you truly are the one I have high hopes for. Don't worry about the car accident when you return. I will invite the best doctor from Korea to treat you." Li Jiamuk's eyes were filled with yearning, as if he had already envisioned General Director Yen's downfall. "Thank you, young master." After saying this, Whitling Song hung up the phone. But as soon as she ended the call, a question arose in her mind. How did he know I had a car accident? It should be noted that Whitling Song had only had the accident the day before. Although it had been reported, her and Chen Yuan's images did not appear. Logically, there were not many people who knew, perhaps only those in the hospital had seen them. Is he watching me? Does he truly not trust me? In her heart, Whitling Song felt an icy chill. She never imagined that the young master she had unconditionally trusted would not trust her in return, despite all she had done. As this thought crossed her mind, a wave of sorrow flooded her consciousness. Meanwhile, at the Grand Cat's evening banquet, the host, microphone in hand, began to speak. "Thank you for the performance by Kun Kun Hee. Brought us a spectacular singing and dancing show that made me want to jump up and dance myself." Beside the host was Basketball Kun. He had just finished a dazzling display of basketball skills intertwined with dance, and below the stage, a sea of fans gathered, including some anti-fans who specialized in critiquing him. Simply put, they were the haters lurking in the shadows. The next act will be performed by a special guest we invited. After the host finished speaking, he gestured toward the audience. Was there a mysterious guest among the crowd? "Do you know who it is?" Wang Mengmeng asked, tugging at Chen Yuan's sleeve. Her curiosity piqued. Wang Mengmeng found everything around her intriguing. "What are you doing?" Suddenly, she noticed something odd about Chen Yuan. He stood out sharply against the crowd, appearing somewhat eccentric. "Why are you wearing a helmet all of a sudden?" She looked at Chen Yuan, who had somehow donned a helmet amidst the crowd. With his knowledge, he no longer cared about the gazes of others. Chen Yuan approached Wang Mengmeng and said, "Mengmeng, next, I'll perform a special act for you." Hearing this made her smile blush crimson. Even though Chen Yuan was wearing a Batman mask, it couldn't stop Wang Mengmeng's heart from racing wildly. Just then, the audience gasped in surprise, their eyes drawn to the stage. "Look, isn't that the piano that was auctioned off for an outrageous price before?" It seems to be that legendary glass piano, the Grand Cat, certainly had a significant influence. This was indeed the glass piano that Chen Yuan had purchased and played before. Amid Wang Mengmeng's puzzled gaze, Chen Yuan took big strides toward the stage. That's right, he wanted to give his sister a small gift. He also aimed to broaden her horizons. Knowing Chen Yuan's intentions, Wang Mengmeng's heart filled with just one thought. He's so handsome, truly too handsome. At that moment, Chen Yuan was the most charming man in the world, even a prince in Wang Mengmeng's eyes. Thinking of this, her affection for Chen Yuan increased by 5 points, just a few points shy of a perfect score. The CEO Yan captivated the entire hall with just one song, making Wang Mengmeng adore her brother even more. Friends listening were tempted to steal the handsome boy from the beauty queen, while the actresses yearned to offer themselves to CEO Yan. At that moment, a mysterious figure appeared at the evening banquet. It was Chen Yuan, wearing the Batman mask, seated before the exquisite glass piano, contemplating how to make the night unforgettable. Meanwhile, everyone in the audience buzzed with anticipation. Who is this person? Could it be the god of romance? Beyond the god of romance. It seems that no one truly deserves this precious glass piano. The anticipation is palpable, yet while everyone is brimming with hope, Tranviant remains motionless on stage for 5 long minutes. Throughout that time, he does nothing but tightly shut his eyes. It appears he is plotting something. The audience begins to murmur restlessly. 5 minutes have passed, and he still hasn't played. Is he just pretending? In truth, he probably doesn't even know how to play. He just wants to show off. After all, why wear a mask? It must be true, there's no doubt about it. As this thought takes root, the crowd erupts in unison, shouting, "If you can't play, get off the stage. Stop pretending." Among the audience, someone even raises a middle finger at Tranvian. However, in the face of this chaos, Tranvian remains as calm as a mountain, eyes still firmly shut. It seems as if everything happening off stage doesn't concern him at all. Not only is the party live-streamed online, but the chat room is also filled with curses. Is this guy really invited to perform a silent act? Please, is my internet lagging? 5 minutes of my life wasted on this jerk. I hope he knows to leave. At this moment, the monitor room is buzzing with frustration. Zhao Yuk and her best friend, Mang Mang, are watching it all unfold. Tran Vien is the one UK invited, hoping he would be the grand finale to elevate the evening's excitement. However, Tran Vien just sits there, immobile. Mang Mang begins to worry. We need to think of something to counter these negative comments. She fears that if this continues, the event will suffer a blow. But Yuke, brimming with confidence, reassures her, "Why panic? Just stay calm and watch. I believe he will bring a surprise." Yuke knows Tranvian quite well. She trusts him completely, having witnessed countless surprises he has delivered. To her, this minor situation is hardly concerning. Yet, deep down, Yuke can't help but wonder, "Tranvian, you are a piano genius. What are you planning? Why are you just sitting there?" Just as Yuki's worry escalates, Tranvian finally stirs. She sees him exhale deeply. Then, his fingers begin to dance across the keys. Instantly, a beautiful melody fills the air. He's moving. Mang Mang exclaims, pointing at the screen in excitement, while Yuke breathes a sigh of relief. She knows what to do next, simply enjoy Tranvian's performance in silence. At this moment, Tranvian not only plays the piano, but also begins to sing. His voice, deep and resonant, draws listeners into another realm. The audience below is captivated, hanging on every note. What song is this? It sounds amazing, a girl whispers to herself. Suddenly, a wave of melancholy washes over her. Meanwhile, Wang Mengmeng feels exhilarated, her perception of Tranvian transforming him into a shining star. How many more secrets does he hold? In that moment, Tranvian seemed to merge with the piano, each note intertwining with his beautiful voice to create the most enchanting melody in the world. Triongok and Maitmain were swept away, utterly captivated by his performance, as if they were under a spell. Lost in the music, Manhwa suddenly felt her cheeks flush. How could Chen Yuan be so irresistibly charming? Why hadn't she noticed this before? Now it felt like she could hardly control herself. But he was her friend's boyfriend. Meanwhile, on the other side, actress Cao Hingum was also engrossed in the live stream. Chen Yuan's voice had reached her ears, and as she observed his contemplative expression paired with his gentle singing, Hingum's emotions became a tangled web. Only those who truly love with all their hearts can sing like that. Hingum was convinced that beneath his carefree exterior, Chen Yuan was hiding a heart full of sorrow from love. In truth, he bore a heart filled with wounds. At that moment, Hingum felt a deep resonance. She was just 2 steps away from surpassing the limits to become the ultimate victor. What was the boundary for the editor-in-chief Manhwa? The answer was none at all. After witnessing his performance, even the first love wanted to have his children, while the secretary, carrying out her covert assignment, couldn't help but shed tears. This song had ignited the entire network. That night, many elite figures attended the Great Cat's party, and just as Chen Yuan finished playing, his performance came to an end. The emotionally charged song closed its chapter, plunging the once vibrant party into a profound silence. Not a single sound was heard, as everyone remained immersed in the afterglow of the performance. Particularly, that song combined with the melody of the crystal piano had offered the audience a truly spectacular show. It was undeniably impressive. This was undoubtedly the caliber of an A-list star. At that moment, applause erupted continuously. Everyone shared a common thought, as if they had just awoken from a dream, still moved by the experience. After the performance concluded, the spotlight shone on Chen Yuan, who resembled a celestial dancer, bringing forth a sense of connection through his music that touched the soul. As expected, this concert once more trended on social media. Thankfully, Chen Yuan had anticipated this, so he wore a Batman mask. Meanwhile, the live stream room was buzzing with excitement. A wealthy gentleman happily donated a mountain of gifts, with the audience chanting, "Big Shot 666." Some even recognized the piano as the one purchased by General Manager Yin, but they were clueless about the identity of the performer. He seemed rather dashing. On the other side, Tio Nyukngui had just finished watching the live stream, and she was in a state of utter amazement. Chen Yuan sang so well. What were the limits of this man? How could he possess so many outstanding skills, truly deserving of admiration? If only I could have been there. Seeing Chen Yuan's remarkable talents only deepened Nyukngui's affection for him. After all, her current friends were practically perfect, wealthy and multi-talented. Most importantly, he was incredibly handsome. "Nyukngui, don't play with your phone while eating. It's quite rude. Take those earbuds out quickly," her father reminded her sternly. It turned out that old Mr. Tiao was dining out with his daughter, and their dining companion was none other than Lam Chi Lak's brother, Lam Dui. Lam Dui smiled at old Mr. Tiao and said, "It's perfectly fine, Uncle Tiao. Not many young people these days can resist their phones. I enjoy playing with them, too." With his amiable demeanor, Lam Dui apologized. "I'm sorry, Lam Dui, I haven't managed things well." Seeing Lam Dui so polite made everyone ease into the atmosphere a bit more. Old Mr. Tiao had to put on a good front. After all, this was the heir of the wealthiest family in Han City. Sharing dinner with someone like him required a certain decorum. "It's nothing at all. I truly admire Nyukngui's personality. We're about to collaborate, so let's not be too formal," he said with a forced smile. It turned out that old Mr. Tiao and Lam Dui were meeting to discuss some collaboration details. However, Lam Dui had ulterior motives. He was drawn to Tiao Nyukngui because of her stunning beauty. If it weren't for that, he wouldn't have been so eager to befriend her at the auto show. That meddling fool was the reason I ended up arguing with Chen Yuan. Every time Nyukngui thought about it, she felt a mix of regret and anger. She didn't want to give Lam Dui any warmth because Chen Yuan was far superior in every way. Now, with this collaboration excuse from the Tiao family, my father had dragged me out for dinner. What a hassle. Nyukngui had no desire to go out, but old Mr. Tiao insisted on dragging her along. Reluctantly, she agreed. Yet one misstep could lead to unforeseen consequences. Currently, her friends were no longer willing to let her drown in despair. "Miss Nyukngui, I've prepared a little performance just for you," he announced. I hope you enjoy it." Suddenly, Lam Dui stood up politely. To prepare for tonight's dinner, he had arranged a few surprises, his well-practiced method of wooing girls. "You love the piano, don't you? I've learned a bit over the years," he added with a charming smile. The piano stood nearby, and knowing Tian Juokmui's fondness for it, Lam Dui quickly set up to perform for her, hoping to win her affection. He began to play, confident that his skills would resonate with her heart. "With my charming piano skills, I refuse to believe Nyokmui won't be swayed," Lam Dui thought, brimming with confidence. With his wealth and good looks, combined with his ability to make girls smile, he was certain he wouldn't lose her favor. However, to Tiao Nyokmui, all of this was nothing but a show. What is he trying to pull a Mar? Compared to Tran Vien, he pales in comparison, utterly devoid of any depth. This neighborly air is thoroughly unimpressive, she mused, growing increasingly disdainful of his attempts. At the same time, Secretary Ngui Lin was also tuning into the live stream. However, unlike others, she was watching it with tears streaming down her face, her emotions so overwhelming that they blurred the screen of her phone. Why could someone so wretched evoke melodies that pierce my heart so deeply? Ngui Ling was moved to tears because Tran Vien's song truly struck a chord within her. Meanwhile, Ngui found herself even more captivated. This man was like the moonlight, illuminating my heart and drawing me in. At this moment, Tran Vien's charm over Ngui was skyrocketing. Her admiration for him had surged to a solid 35. After listening to the CEO Yen's song, she couldn't help but succumb to his allure. CEO Yen, witnessing this, felt a surge of joy. It seemed tonight would not be a meaningless event after all. Inside a luxurious commercial vehicle cruising through Han City, Lam Chi-lak remarked, "Miss, we have successfully acquired a significant amount of land around Tien Mon as planned. But don't you think our compensation for the land is a bit too generous? I'm worried we won't be able to sustain our finances." Upon hearing the director's analysis, Lam Chi-lak replied, "That's not something you need to worry about. Just keep buying." Right now, Ngui has acquired a large portion of land surrounding Tien Mon. Lam Chi-lak believed that the only way to counter his strategy was to start from the periphery. After all, she came from a merchant family. In terms of business, she had her own insights. Currently, the 3 plots of land formed a triangular area, which would be the best choice for a filming location. The previous information about building a film studio at Tien Mon was merely smoke and mirrors thrown out by Tran Vien. Yet, the truth was Tran Vien had already informed Lam Chi-lak. At this moment, Lam Chi-lak felt a bit of pressure. She believed that Tran Vien could only trust her now. "Damn it, Ngui Ling, if you soar high, I will retreat. Just wait for my retribution." Every time she thought of Ngui Ling, Lam Chi-lak felt nothing but anger. She once believed Ngui Lin had great potential. Just then, Lam Chi-lak's phone buzzed with a message. The notification revealed it was from Vuong Mong Mong. Surprised, Lam Chi-lak realized she hadn't seen Mong Mong for quite some time. She truly missed her. Their friendship was exceptionally close. Like longtime best friends, she saw a message from Mong Mong's sister Lak. "Hurry to this live room to see my brother perform." After Mong Mong's message, she promptly sent a direct link to the show. What is Dai Meo doing? Is he feeling lonely? Although attending the live show felt like a form of self-deprecation, Lam Chi-lak couldn't shake off the feeling of confusion. After all, a character like Tran Vien was typically very humble. Yet, her curiosity got the better of her, and she clicked on the link as soon as the live room opened. She discovered that Tran Vien was wearing a mask that concealed something. At this moment, comments in the live chat were flying in at lightning speed. "Rich Guy 666, this is a crystal piano. Come check out this handsome guy." Meanwhile, others remained silent, not sending any comments. Yet the gifts kept pouring in, showcasing admiration. At this point, Tran Vien began to sing, his melodious voice transporting Lin Chi-lak to another world. The song, from its lyrics to its melody, was so exquisite that just a brief snippet was enough to captivate anyone. Lin Chi-lak found herself ensnared in a whirlwind of emotions. Even though Tran Vien was wearing a Batman mask, it did nothing to diminish his performance. Particularly, the line, "I understand now, no more words, love fades, dreams are distant," made her heart race. She could hardly believe this was the song performed by Tran Vien. Absolutely stunning, Lin Chilak was genuinely taken aback by Tran Vien's exceptional talent. Now his prowess combined with his immense wealth made her start to admire him blindly, even thinking of him as her very own Prince Charming. Thinking of this, Lin Chilak's expression turned peculiar, as if swept away by a fever. She had but one thought: Tran Vien was truly blinded by mere money. Hua Hadao was a big star, and at this moment, Lin Chilak's fondness for Tran Vien surged dramatically, reaching an impressive 96. Consequently, Tran Vien earned a wealth of points. Among all those he had enchanted, Lin Chilak could be considered the easiest conquest. Others had to invest both effort and wealth. Only Lin Chilak was different. She needed no money. She simply admired Tran Vien's talent and liked who he was. At that moment, after finishing his performance, Tran Vien noticed the rising fondness and felt a wave of happiness swell within him. It seemed that tonight was not in vain. After his performance, Tran Vien intended to leave, but the audience below was not pleased. "Why are you leaving so soon? Don't go. Take off your mask before you leave." "That's right. We haven't heard enough yet. Hey, handsome, can you sing one more song?" Everyone turned their gaze to the stage, looking at Tran Vien, but he seemed to ignore them, coldly walking away. This action not only met no resistance, but also attracted a few more young female fans. "He's so cold. I love it. He's totally my type." A few days later, within the Bythian real estate company, a frantic voice cried out, "Director Lack, it's not good. Someone is trying to snatch our land. They seem to have significant influence, and we're losing ground step by step. Moreover, they've also rallied quite a few people." The real estate director immediately reported the situation to Deep Lin Song. Upon receiving the documents, Deep Lin Song pondered, "So they've started land grabbing. It seems that Litio has begun to take action. If Litio's plan succeeds, Bythian real estate will face trouble, and these folks will be out of jobs." Seeing the director's sorrowful expression, Deplin Song couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy. She turned to the director and said, "I'm aware of the situation. I will contact Director Yen to see if there are any directives." With that, Deplin Song pulled out her phone, thinking to herself, "I'll give it my all and let fate take the wheel from there." Deep down, she strongly believed that Tran Vien wouldn't care about this matter. If he truly did, he would have invested more. However, when Deep Lin Song called Tran Vien, all she heard was the message, "Sorry, the number you are calling is switched off." Deep Lin Song couldn't fathom that Tran Vien would turn off his phone at such a critical moment. Could it be he's running away, she thought, glancing at her phone with a growing sense of foreboding. Meanwhile, Tran Vien's grand plan was about to unfold. After Director Bien had taken a few days off, rumors began to swirl that the company was on the brink of bankruptcy. After all, how could he have been absent for so long? This news reached Sister Bang and soon caught the attention of the campus beauty. However, the beauty did not seem pleased at all. Once information starts to circulate, it quickly turns into a major topic of discussion. Everyone knew that Director Yen had lost his financial backing. One of her friends even contemplated selling the production building to help him. At this moment, within the Jingmao building, numerous companies were operating, including Daimao TV. Two receptionists began chatting. "Have you heard the news? It seems our company is on the verge of collapsing." "No way. Didn't our company just launch with such fanfare?" "You're not aware. There's some insider information." A girl with purple hair, having obtained the news from who knows where, started to analyze the situation in detail. "There were rumors before that our company had backing from Yen Tuok, but it's been a while since Director Yen has made an appearance. Doesn't that prove something is wrong, Asmung?" The person who played the piano that day was him, but he was wearing a Batman mask, so everyone forgot about Director Yen. "But according to some information I got from my uncle, it's possible that Director Yen has lost his financial backing." The girl's analysis seemed quite reasonable. Another colleague was immediately shocked. "Really, Director Yen is so wealthy. How could he lose his financial backing? Is your source reliable? If Director Yen is that rich, how could he be in such a situation? Just believe me, this is definitely true." At that moment outside, Tam Thui overheard their conversation. He couldn't help but feel skeptical. Among all the parties involved, only he and Tran Vien had the least contact, simply because he was the oldest. All because of a system joke that bound me. That's why Tran Vien always kept his distance from him. After receiving the news, Tam Thuy hurried to find Trio Ngoc. It can't be. I know Tran Vien's capabilities. I'm the one who's been left with a broken spine. The financial chain of Tran Vien will not break. Although she doesn't know where this rumor originated, Trio Ngoc had witnessed Tran Vien's capabilities before. She firmly believes that he will not go bankrupt. Yet outside, whispers of doubt swirl like a storm. Maybe you should call and confirm, Tam Thuy suggested, her brow slightly furrowed with concern. After all, everything doesn't arise out of thin air. Hearing this, Trio Ngoc began to ponder. In fact, Tran Vien hasn't made any public appearances in the last few days. I thought with his character, he would make a grand entrance to promote Dai Mao, since this is his legacy. But the truth is, Tran Vien hasn't made any moves at all. With this thought, Trio Ngoc felt a twinge of uncertainty. Could it be that he's really in trouble? Now she was no longer as confident as before. Anxiety crept into her heart. Within half a day, this news had spread from 10 to hundreds. Many had caught wind of it. Have you heard the news? The super-rich director Yen seems to have hit a financial wall. Really? These people didn't care about the truth. They merely relished in the gossip that quickly spread far and wide. And thus, the tale grew larger. Have you heard anything? I heard that Director Yen truly has hit a financial wall. It's hard to believe. Who said otherwise? Overexposure can lead to trouble. In reality, most were simply waiting to see Tran Vien stumble. Meanwhile, at an upscale resort, a favored retreat of the elite. As long as you have money, you can enjoy the finest services. What, I'm out of funds. Why wasn't I aware of this? So, where did you hear that from? In recent days, Tran Vien had merely been relaxing here, unaware that mere days of rest had led to rumors of his impending bankruptcy. Don't worry about where I heard it. If you really are in trouble, I wouldn't hesitate to sell my golden retriever. It'll always be by your side. At that moment, Xiaonova's tone was resolute. If Tran Vien truly faced challenges, she declared she would stand by him no matter what. Tran Vien, on the other hand, felt confused, struggling to grasp the gravity of the situation. But if it were him, there truly wouldn't be any trouble. The only trouble I have is that I have too much money, so much that I don't know how to spend it all. In fact, the more I spend, the more I acquire. To prevent Xiaonovu from droning on about Tran Vien, he candidly stated the truth. Indeed, Tran Vien's wealth seemed insatiable. It's just more money than before. At least that's how it was for Lun Tum. After that, Tran Vien hung up the phone with Xiaonovu. I've only been on vacation for a few days, and the outside world is buzzing like this. It's so bothersome, Tran Vien lamented, feeling utterly helpless. He knew that most of this was merely the fabrications of others, blindly accepted as truth. Meanwhile, at the Tio family villa, what is going on? What did he say? At this moment, Tio Mo anxiously looked at her daughter. My mother plans to sell the golden cat to help Tran Vien. Tio Ngoc Vu thought that Tran Vien, wanting to prove himself, had actually hit rock bottom. No way. Hearing her daughter say this, Tio Mao immediately erupted in anger. Do you think that the golden cat is a treasure for our family, but just a drop in the ocean for Tran Vien? If he truly lacked money, this amount would be insignificant. After hearing her mother's analysis, Tio Ngoc Vu felt that it made sense. Moreover, can you be certain that this isn't just a plan for him to feign weakness? Tio Mao, with her rich experience, approached the issue from a different angle, believing that this situation was far from simple. My dear daughter, your impulsiveness almost ruined Tran Vien's opportunity just now. Right now, Tran Vien has only one thought in mind: to take a break. Perhaps it's time for action. Even Director Yen must feel bored someday. Because someone spread rumors about his bankruptcy, all the girls have been calling to check on him. Zhao Yuying was resolute. If Tran Vien faced financial troubles, she would not hesitate to sell her grand cat to support him. Cao Huinngan was also very concerned about Tran Vien. Are you experiencing financial difficulties? Just tell me how much you need. Even the fierce Qin Bang Tuyet had a hint of reproach in her voice. If you're in trouble, why didn't you tell me? Do you think I'm someone who can only stand by and watch? At that moment, in a luxurious villa that Tran Vien had just purchased for relaxation, he found himself unable to enjoy it for long. News of his financial issues had spread like wildfire outside. Tran Vien felt disheartened. Am I not experiencing financial difficulties? I just bought a villa. I truly appreciate everyone's kindness. Initially, Tran Vien intended to savor a few more days of leisure, but now he felt like a deflated balloon. Looking at the call log on his phone, Tran Vien wondered what was going on today. One by one, people were calling to check on him. Could it be that someone is really spreading rumors about my bankruptcy? Honestly, who is saying I'm facing financial issues? Tran Vien was very curious about this. How could such a significant rumor develop in just a few days of my absence? He puzzled over it, but couldn't quite understand. This life had truly turned upside down. I used to be the one spending on women, but now these girls are doing their utmost to spend on me. Thinking of this, Tran Vien found it amusing. Yet from this, he also realized that these girls were genuinely sincere towards him. At least, those who called him were truly good. It seemed that my charm was growing stronger. It was captivating, making it hard to escape. With that thought, Tran Vien felt a bit proud as he fervently sipped his fruit juice. But at that moment, a familiar song, My Story Begins With You, started playing, causing him to spit out the juice he had just drunk. Oh my goodness, is this ever going to end? Who's bothering me this time? At this moment, Tran Vien just wanted a few peaceful days to enjoy. The phone kept ringing incessantly, making it clear that tranquility was a distant dream. Before he could utter a single word, as soon as Tran Vien answered, he was met with a furious voice on the other end. He was indeed feeling a bit irritated. Being constantly disturbed left him rather uncomfortable. The caller was Lam Chi Lak. She sounded somewhat angry as she retorted, Tran Vien, you've got some nerve to shout at me like that. All right, I won't quibble with you anymore. Just send me your current address. Why do I have to send my address? Tran Vien wondered, puzzled by what this young lady was planning. She had something big in store for him, but Lam Chi Lak didn't clarify over the phone. There was definitely a secret involved. However, from what Lam Chi Lak said, it was at least not something bad. Perhaps it was good news. So just wait patiently. After saying this, Lam Chi Lak's maniacal laughter echoed from the other end of the line. It seemed that this news brought her immense joy. After hanging up, Tran Vien didn't feel surprised. He was merely a bit taken aback, lacking any excitement. He truly didn't know what to say to these women anymore. But after a few days of relaxation, it was time to get back into action. At the very least, there was Li Tiao outside, who had his sights set on him. And the other members wouldn't be idle either. Tonight, at the military estate, this was a high-end villa. A significant event was set to take place here tonight. It was imperative to host the guests with utmost care. No mistakes could be allowed. Understood. At this moment, a young man was issuing orders to the butler and a group of bodyguards to avoid any major mishaps. After all, a critical discussion was to happen tonight. The people I invited are all important figures aside from Li Tiao from the Li family in Mado. There are also the big shots from Soft Gold and Red Sand Capital. It turns out that this young man is Lam Dui, the brother of Lam Chi Lak. Not only is Lam Dui pursuing Tiu Nyuk Nguyen, but he also has his eyes set on Tran Vien. He and Li Jiamok could be said to be on the same side. They're here, they're here. At that moment, Lindy shouted as a convoy of luxury cars came to a halt in front of the villa. Each of those cars was occupied by individuals of high status, all sharing a common purpose tonight. A bodyguard stepped out to open the car door. From within the vehicle emerged the silhouette of a man. As he stepped out, his identity was unveiled. Indeed, it was Li Jiamok, the one who had his sights set on Tran Vien. He was the very person Li Jiamok had dispatched to investigate Tran Vien. Now, Li Jiamok had finally made his appearance in Hanthang. Tonight, he would engage in discussions with Lumdich and other influential figures. Behind Li Jiamok loomed several tall bodyguards. Upon seeing Li Jiamok arrive, Lindy rushed out to greet him. Li Thieu, you're being too courteous. We're all old friends here. How's Uncle doing inside? It seemed Li Jiamok had long been familiar with Lindy, and he responded with genuine concern. Just as Li Jiamok and Lingdi were about to enter, a taxi pulled up at the villa's entrance. When the taxi door swung open, a familiar figure appeared. Finally, I've made it. Li Theo instructed me to be here tonight. It turned out to be Nguyen Lung Seung, who received the news from Li Mamuk. Tasked with arranging matters for the evening, Nguyen Lung Seung stepped out of the car and caught sight of Li Zamuk entering, prompting her to rush over, calling out, Li Theo, I'm sorry for being late. However, before Nguyen Lung Seung could finish her sentence, a large hand shoved her aside. Simultaneously, a booming voice echoed, Who told you to come in here? Get out of the way. The secretary, despite suffering injuries, was determined to complete his task, but the young master disdainfully noted that he stank. Fearing infection from his untreated wounds, the secretary hadn't bathed for days. Ultimately, he realized that he was merely a dog, expendable at any moment. Yet, he had still managed to gather crucial information about the CEO, Yin. As Nguyen Lung Seung arrived at the villa, she was forcefully shoved by Li Zamuk's bodyguard. Who told you to come in here? Get out of the way. Nguyen Lung Seung was taken aback by this treatment, as she was unceremoniously pushed to the ground. In their eyes, anyone unfamiliar approaching Nguyen Lung Seung was a potential threat. It's me, the young master, Nguyen Lung Seung hurriedly explained. She hadn't expected that after such a long separation, she wouldn't be met with warm welcomes, but rather with harsh rejection. No matter how much affection and trust she held, at this moment, a chill enveloped her. Recognizing Nguyen Lung Seung in front of him, Li Yamuk immediately began to scrutinize her with newfound seriousness. Upon a closer look, he realized it was indeed his secretary, Nguyen Lung Seung. Oh, Lung Seung, why did you let yourself get into this state? Come on, get up. Knowing it was Nguyen Lung Seung, Li Zamuk rushed over to help her up. After all, she had made significant contributions by gathering valuable intel from CEO Yin. Thus, he intended to reward her. But just as he was about to assist her, Li Yamuk suddenly caught a strange odor emanating from Nguyen Lung Seung, causing him to instinctively step back a few paces. The scent was unbearable for Li Yamuk. Lang Swang, it's been days since you've bathed, and you show up to an event like this without a care. You're going to embarrass me, he grimaced, pinching his nose. Right now, all Li Jiamok felt was that Nguyen Lang Swang was tarnishing his reputation. Hearing the young master's words, Nguyen Lang Swang's eyes widened in disbelief. Inside, she felt a swirl of emotions, annoyance, sorrow, and a complex mix of feelings. Is there anyone? Quickly help Secretary Nguyen up and bring her here to me. Li Jiamok, after distancing himself from Nguyen Lang Swang, immediately ordered his bodyguards. He absolutely did not want to get close to her again, fearing he might catch a whiff of her scent. Looking at the cold silhouette of the young master, Nguyen Lang Swang felt a pang of sorrow. I've remained loyal to you, barely escaping death to complete my mission, and just because I'm afraid of an infection from my wounds that I haven't bathed for days, you treat me like this. At that moment, Nguyen Lang Swang felt utterly despondent due to the accident. With so many injuries on her body, she indeed couldn't wash up, or she risked serious infection. It turns out I'm just a dog to you, something you can kick away at will. Nguyen Lang Swang bowed her head in silence, finally understanding her place. In Li Gamok's heart, her position was truly insignificant, even just a disposable person, easily cast off at any moment. A little while later, Lam Dich, Li Gamok, and two other big shots were seated at one table, while Nguyen Lang Swang sat alone beside them. Keeping a distance from them, the reason was all too clear. It was obvious that this time, Tran Vien was definitely in for some trouble, specifically with the so-called General Director Yen. This person was Du Tien Han, responsible for the aviation investment project of Nguyen Kin. Beside him was a plump man. Nguyen, please explain to these two gentlemen. Li Jiamok raised his glass, issuing the command. Upon hearing that the young master needed her, Nguyen Lang Swang perked up immediately. We currently hold several significant plots of land. Nguyen Lang Swang didn't think much and simply shared the information she knew. That was her goal, to get closer to Tran Vien. In other words, as long as he wants to build a film studio anywhere, we will have the upper hand. If he wants to escape this predicament, he must be thoroughly suppressed by us. Chu Wui's face twisted into a fierce expression, as if he felt General Director Yen was not worth fearing. Chu, you're right, Nguyen Lang Swang immediately relayed the information, confirming the analysis was indeed accurate. However, What Nguyen Lang Swang didn't know was that Tran Vien was preparing a backup plan. Recently, she had heard that this kid was facing financial difficulties. Right now, he was truly at a dead end, and the situation was strange and thrilling, as if they could see General Director Yen right before their eyes. Greedy people are never satisfied. This time, General Director Yen might face a crushing defeat. Lai Jiamak displayed a malicious grin, eagerly anticipating the day Tran Vien would go bankrupt. Not just him, but everyone seated around the table shared the same sentiment. Lai is right, they murmured in agreement. A group of people, having just indulged in drinks, were now fervently discussing their common goal to secretly plot the overthrow of Chen Yuan, so they would no longer feel threatened. Cheers, the five of them raised their glasses, celebrating their imminent victory. They seemed to be toasting to their upcoming triumph, but there's an old saying, don't pop the champagne too soon. Honestly, my sister is hiding next to Chen Yuan. Just one command from me, and she'll definitely cooperate with us. At that point, Chen Yuan would have nowhere to escape. Lin Shi was very confident because Lin Jilak held quite a bit of information about Chen Yuan. Just then, the door of Chen Yuan's villa was suddenly kicked open. Sister Chen, I'm starving. Quick, make me the egg fried rice from last time. It turned out to be the young lady, Lin Jilak, who had unexpectedly come to visit Chen Yuan just for the fried rice. But it seemed that things weren't as simple as they appeared. Was she really here just to help him? The starlet hurriedly sought out General Manager Yan, worried about his impending bankruptcy. When the young lady met the starlet, she immediately asked for an autograph. The young lady felt immense pressure, while General Manager Yan had prepared a lavish dinner that delighted all three girls, significantly boosting their camaraderie. After learning the address of Chen Yuan's villa, Lin Jilak rushed over, exclaiming, Sister Chen, I'm so hungry. Hurry and make me that egg-fried rice from before. Lin Jilak was completely unreserved, seeming to have made this place her own. Jilak, you're here. Last time I came, I thought it would be ages before I saw you again. Seeing Lin Jilak, Wang Mengmeng beamed with joy. Their bond had been strong back in the countryside, and now their reunion only deepened the unspoken connection between them. After that, Wang Mengmeng led Lin Jilak into the house, and the two began chatting like the closest of sisters. One sentence after another, they shared recent happenings. Jilak, you don't actually like my brother, do you? Are you here to chase after him? Wang Mengmeng asked, her eyes sparkling with curiosity. She sensed that Lin Jilak seemed to harbor feelings for her brother otherwise. Why would she be so proactive? You're talking nonsense. The line of suitors waiting for me stretches from here to Huangpu River. I don't have any interest in a fickle-hearted man. Upon hearing Wang Mengmeng's question about whether she liked Chen Yuan, Lin Jilak's face flushed, and she vehemently protested. After all, Lin Jilak was a proud girl who would never allow herself to initiate such a conversation. The two sisters continued their chat as if there were countless stories to share. Meanwhile, Chen Yuan was in the kitchen, sneaking glances outside, wondering about the current situation. He was also unsure about what Lin Jilak might unexpectedly say. He couldn't help but ponder how Lin Jilak came to be such an eccentric girl, almost like a loudspeaker, always talking about herself. Chen Yuan found himself quite impressed by her boldness. He always found it hard to resist teasing her a bit, but Chen Yuan thought that it was actually good. Meng Meng was home alone and was about to die of boredom. Lin Jilak's visit was just perfect for keeping her company. After that, Chen Yuan turned up the heat, preparing to fry rice for dinner, wanting to ensure that both girls had their fill. Just then, a loud knock echoed from outside. Accompanied by an urgent call, "Open the door, I know you're home." At first, the two girls were engrossed in their conversation inside and didn't hear anything. But outside, someone was knocking and shouting, and finally they caught the sound. It should be noted that this address is almost unknown, as it is a house that Tran Vien just bought not long ago. Currently, Tran Vien has only told Lum Chi Lak about it. From the voice, it seems to be a woman. Vung Mok Mok deduced from the sound that the one knocking at the door is a girl. It's certainly someone looking for Tran Vien. Perhaps it's an old flame of her brother. Lum Chi Lak chuckled mischievously, thinking that as long as she was a woman, she must be here for Tran Vien. With that thought, Lum Chi-lak felt a flicker of curiosity and prepared to see who this mysterious woman was. After that, the two opened the door and a familiar silhouette appeared. The visitor was a blonde girl. "Isn't this Chen Yuan's house? You all are." "Oh, it turns out to be the star, Cao Huinyin," she panted, stating that she had come to find Chen Yuan. He soon realized that the ones opening the door were not Chen Yuan, but two unfamiliar girls. Cao Huinyin didn't recognize them, but they certainly knew her, as after all, she was a star. It was hard for Lum Chi-lak and Vung Mok Mok to hide their surprise. They never expected Cao Huinyin to come here. Soon after, the three of them sat down in the living room. The atmosphere suddenly turned a bit awkward and tense, filled with an unspeakable feeling. Lum Chi-lak gazed at Cao Huinyin, pondering. She was astonished that Chen Yuan knew a star like Cao Huinyin. It was truly surprising. At that moment, Lum Chi-lak had a different perspective of Chen Yuan. Meanwhile, Cao Huinyin was smiling brightly, chatting with Vung Mok Mok, who was nervously holding a pen and paper. Excitedly, she asked, "Sister Huinyin, can I get your autograph?" "Thank you so much." Being a fan of Cao Huinyin, meeting her idol naturally called for an autograph. Cao Huinyin, being warm and approachable, happily obliged Vung Mok Mok's small request. At this moment, Lum Chi-lak felt an immense pressure, as if she were a fighter facing an unprecedented rival. She thought if this woman also liked Chen Yuan, she would undoubtedly become a formidable opponent. In reality, these were merely the thoughts of the girls. In Chen Yuan's eyes, only those who brought him joy mattered. He had a penchant for those who splurged and enjoyed life. Dinner was ready at last. He had meticulously prepared the meal. With his enhanced culinary skills, Chen Yuan's dishes could be considered top-notch globally. The meal included 4 main dishes and a soup, all perfect in both flavor and presentation. Just looking at it made one's mouth water. "So delicious." "Truly delicious," Vung Mok Mok exclaimed excitedly, eagerly grabbing the food and stumbling over her words. "Chen Yuan, I never expected your culinary skills to be this outstanding, surpassing even the finest 5-star chefs I've ever tasted." Cao Huinyin exclaimed, savoring each bite. Meanwhile, Lum Chi-lak finally indulged in the long-desired fried rice with eggs, leaving her almost speechless with delight. "Huinyin, why did you suddenly come here?" Chen Yuan inquired, glancing at Cao Huinyin. She paused her chopsticks and replied, "Aren't I just worried about you? You spoke so vaguely on the phone, I feared you might be in trouble, so I came to check on you." The reason for Cao Huinyin's visit was as simple as her concern for Chen Yuan. Moments later, all 3 girls finished their meals, their faces glowing with satisfaction, each one feeling pleasantly full and reminiscing about that blissful moment. At the same time, their fondness for one another grew stronger. Vung Mok Mok's affinity increased by 2 points, now standing at 92. Cao Huinyin gained 1 point, bringing her total to 94. Lum Chi-lak also saw a 1-point rise, reaching 97. With Lum Chi-lak surpassing 97 points, she received a 10-point boost. Seeing these increases, Chen Yuan thought to himself that this meal was truly worthwhile. To win their affection, one must first conquer their stomachs. And then, with a flourish, Yin Tong had effortlessly charmed the stars themselves. Meanwhile, the belle sat in contemplation, feeling compelled to do something special for Yin Tong. Her best friend assured her, "It's no problem at all. She has top-tier hacking skills." After enjoying the dinner made by Chen Yuan's own hands, Lum Chi-lak tossed a hefty financial report onto the table. Chen Yuan looked at the report, seemingly puzzled while engaging in cheerful conversation. Suddenly, she threw a report at him. Meanwhile, Cao Huinyin seemed to understand immediately, saying, "This is the good news I mentioned." Lum Chi-lak proudly declared that what she referred to as a surprise was indeed this report, which was a crucial part of her work. With this report, Chen Yuan would gain an unimaginable advantage in the film's city project. As he opened the report, he realized it was titled Financial Report of Dia Okdon Dia. At that moment, Chen Yuan couldn't help but chuckle. Was this an attempt to challenge Vienling Song? The name seemed rather haphazard. It's important to note that Vienling Song's real estate company was called Phi Thien Dia Ok, and Lum Chi-lak's boldness was undeniably striking. At that moment, Lum Chi-lak unfolded a map, eager to seriously explain to Chen Yuan the fruits of her labor over the past period. This This report is just a part of my accomplishments. To make it easier for you to understand, I specifically brought a map. As Lum Chi-lak spoke, she unfurled the map. This is the map of the area surrounding Tianmon City. The purple section indicates the area that Don't Dia has currently acquired. The two locations are Tianjiang and Tiandao. I've called them, and they expressed their willingness to cooperate with our Film City project. This area, combined with the land that Phi Thien has already purchased, means we now control over 1 million acres of land, and the 500 billion you provided me with hasn't even been fully spent yet. Is it really true? Tran Vien, I must be quite impressive, right? Lam Chi-lak feels a swell of pride. She believes this is her significant contribution to Tran Vien. Not only that, she has saved quite a bit of money. After all, a month's worth of fried rice deserves a reward. Wait, I've come this far, and yet, how can this guy remain so calm? It's almost too profound. Lam Chi-lak feels a bit dazed. Tran Vien isn't reacting as she imagined, in fact. He seems utterly unfazed. Tran Vien is genuinely unbothered, and he even looks like he might drift off to sleep. He thinks that, in the end, spending money is the same no matter where it goes. If you want something, just spend it. In fact, the more you spend, the better. Don't hold back, because he certainly isn't short on cash. Oh my. Recently, Phi Thien and Don Dia have skyrocketed in popularity, and it turns out they're both projects of Tran Vien. At that moment, Cao Huiyen couldn't keep her composure. As the project head of the Film City, she understood the implications, but the reality is that both Phi Thien and Don Dia belong to Tran Vien. Now, Cao Huiyen can barely contain her excitement. Such a massive piece of land could fully support the construction of the Film City while also freeing it from the clutches of other powers. It felt like freedom to soar without needing to worry about anyone else's approval. This plot of land is divided into 3 parts across 3 cities. No one can monopolize it, and the corporations that surround it will surely be outsmarted by Tran Vien, perhaps even left empty-handed. At this moment, Cao Huiyen envisions the impending downfall of those corporations. Could this be a scheme that Tran Vien orchestrated long ago? Looking at Tran Vien's calm, unchanging demeanor, Cao Huiyen is certain he has been planning this for a while. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so composed right now. The moment she thinks of this, her admiration for Tran Vien grows even stronger. A master strategist is indeed hard to detect. Phi Thien and Don Dia truly feel like a dream come true. This is the impression that Cao Huiyen has of Tran Vien. At this point, Tran Vien has become a deity in her eyes. Thank goodness he's on my side. Tran Vien truly is a reliable man. Cao Huiyen immerses herself in her fantasies, unable to break free. She even begins to conquer herself. Suddenly, her affection for him increases by 1 point, reaching a total of 95. Meanwhile, target number 9, Cao Huiyen, has successfully completed her overthrow. Besides the reimbursement, Tran Vien receives 3 enhancement points and masterful acting skills. Tran Vien feels a bit confused. What's going on? Why did Cao Huiyen suddenly complete her overthrow? It seems he hasn't spoken much with her. Could it be that his stunning looks in the financial report led to her change of heart? Thinking about this, Tran Vien feels a bit foolish, almost incredulous. But bringing down the enemy is still a mission well accomplished. Meanwhile, at the live stream company Dai Mao in the Kim Mao building, Mong said, "Can I ask you for a favor?" Although Chen Yuan assured me he was fine, I couldn't shake off my worries for him. Didn't he have a tough time with Phi Thien Dia? Could you help me look into this company? Upon hearing Triot Ngokang's words, Mong replied, "I know the CEO of Phi Thien. I believe her name is Goddess Lin Shutong, and she's Chen Yuan's new secretary." That's right. If Phi Thien Dia is in trouble, Chen Yuan will undoubtedly face difficulties as well. Triot Ngokang remained deeply concerned for Chen Yuan. Through her deductions, she uncovered a tiny clue. Thus, she decided to enlist her best friend's help to dig deeper. "No problem. Leave it to me, my hacking skills are top-notch. Tonight, I'll help you investigate Phi Thien and Vien Ling Seung," Mong confidently declared. Indeed, her hacking abilities were truly impressive, making these inquiries feel as easy as flipping a coin. "Thank you, Mong. I know you care about me," Triot Ngokang exclaimed joyfully, throwing herself into her best friend's arms. Now, the gears of fate had begun to turn, and a grand event was about to unfold. How stunning can the lenses look? Just one glance can bring a blush, with eyes overflowing with love. A longer stare might just set your heart ablaze. Meanwhile, the secretary faced humiliation as the wealthy client demanded he remove the bandage from his head. The secretary pleaded with the master, but he flatly refused. Consequently, the last veil of the secretary was also stripped away. Gazing at the female star, who had just been dethroned, Cao Huinyin, along with the acting award she had just received, Chen Yuan suddenly sparked an intriguing idea. Could this acting skill be used to charm women? To test this theory, Chen Yuan decided to give it a shot. With determination, Chen Yuan fixed his gaze on Cao Huinyin and remarked, "So, why do you keep staring at me?" Yet at that moment, Chen Yuan seemed to transform. No longer just Chen Yuan, he morphed into an incredibly handsome man, cloaked in layers of charm that even his casual shirt morphed into a sleek suit. This was the image that Cao Huinyin beheld. Instantly, her eyes sparkled, her face flushed, and her heart raced uncontrollably. Cao Huinyin could hardly believe her eyes. Oh my God, what just happened? The gaze of Chen Yuan felt like it pierced right into her heart, revealing her innermost, most private thoughts. In that moment, Cao Huinyin's mind became a whirlwind. She suddenly realized that Chen Yuan was not only exceptionally talented, but also strikingly handsome. Was this merely an illusion, or had Chen Yuan always been this captivating? As she gazed at Chen Yuan, Cao Huinyin found herself increasingly enchanted, feeling that this man possessed a magical allure akin to that of a demigod, continuously drawing women closer to him. Overwhelmed by excitement, Cao Huinyin unexpectedly fainted, lost in bliss. Watching Cao Huinyin, Chen Yuan couldn't help but smile. It was so easy to engage in conversation. However, through this experience, Chen Yuan discovered that his acting skills were exceptionally effective, elevating his flirting game to an entirely new level. And so, the adventure continued. Chen Yuan gazed at the treasure and map belonging to Lam Chi Lak. This could truly help resolve the current predicament, and it unintentionally put those conglomerates in a tight spot. Chen Yuan felt an overwhelming sense of ease. He even sensed an unexpected thrill. Perhaps I am indeed the child of destiny, as the legends say. With that thought, Chen Yuan couldn't help but smirk. Did Cao Huinyin believe that everything was orchestrated by me, leading to an infinite admiration, perhaps even feelings that have crossed the bounds of propriety? As he observed the loving gaze of Cao Huinyin, Chen Yuan's mind sparked a hypothesis. A true man does not need to explain himself. If they wish to misunderstand, then let them. Chen Yuan found this idea rather amusing, even entertaining. At the very least, she no longer needed to cower. From now on, it was these girls who would gauge her expression. Chen Yuan reminisced about all the girls who had been linked to him, each boasting a score of over 90. With a sigh, he thought, "Let me bear it all alone." Though feeling a bit tired, Chen Yuan couldn't help but smile. Is the young lady truly talented? In just a few days, she has turned evasion into such a dazzling art. Compared to some, she excels greatly. Chen Yuan seemed genuinely pleased. Lam Chi Lak felt a surge of joy in her heart, for she had genuinely assisted Chen Yuan with no pretense involved. Meanwhile, on the other side, Goddess Lin Shutong was analyzing the entertainment industry landscape. As someone who had direct access to Chen Yuan, she was well aware of the situation. She was currently briefing the Tycoons. Given the present circumstances, Nguyen's chances of turning the tide were slim, unless something extraordinary occurred. The four of them questioned in unison, refusing to allow any faults in the entertainment plan. They were adamant about handing it over to Nguyen. Thus, they had to avoid any mishaps at all costs. Unless he decided to invest trillions to crush the competition and wipe everything out. But I doubt Nguyen has enough capital to pull that off. Goddess Lin Shutong expressed her inner worries, believing Chen Yuan would need trillions to make a comeback. However, she was unaware that Chen Yuan possessed far more than just trillions. How surprising, Miss Nguyen is quite humorous. I've said before, how could Nguyen possibly have so much money? Currently, the amount he spends in the entertainment industry is nearly at its limit. This has led to a rupture in the capital chain. As this was revealed, everyone finally let out a sigh of relief. Suddenly, a tycoon turned to Li Jiamok and asked, "By the way, is Miss Nguyen your secretary?" Li Jiamak replied, "What's the matter? Is there an issue with Mr. Chu?" "No issues at all. It's just that I find it strange. Why does she have such an unpleasant scent? I've heard that all of Li's secretaries are breathtaking. I wonder if Miss Nguyen could remove the wrap so I could see for myself." Upon hearing this, Nguyen Lin Swang instantly froze. The young master, Nguyen Lin Swang, quickly glanced over at Li Jiamak. She wanted to seek help from the young master, for the bandage on her forehead was the last remnant hiding her shame. She was acutely aware of how humiliating it would be to reveal her wound in front of everyone, risking ridicule. Upon hearing this, Li Jiamo felt a pang of discomfort in his heart. That Mr. Chu is truly rude. Yet since this collaboration was initiated by my request, I cannot afford to offend him. Lin Shu, if Mr. Chu insists, then you should remove the bandage for him to see. Without hesitation, Li Jiamo ordered Nguyen Lin Shu to take off the bandage. Upon hearing this, Shui Ling Shu felt as if she had been struck by lightning. "Does the young master really want me to take the bandage off?" she asked again, her voice trembling. However, her persistent questioning only fueled Li Jiamo's anger. "If I've told you to remove it, then do it. Are you doubting my orders?" Hearing the young master's command, Nguyen Lin Shu gritted her teeth in frustration. With no other choice, she could only comply. Trembling, she slowly peeled the bandage from her head, revealing her unhealed wound to the gaze of the onlookers. Nguyen Lin Shu shut her eyes tightly. At that moment, she felt stripped of all dignity. The secretary had been cast aside by the young master simply for bearing a scar on her face, mocked by the wealthy as if she were a mere dog. Yet when she returned home, both the general manager and her sister welcomed her warmly. They even prepared dinner for her. In that moment, the secretary finally understood who truly valued her. Under Li Jiamo's commanding presence and the gaze of the wealthy, Nguyen Lin Shu had taken off the bandage, exposing the injury caused by her mission to everyone. In that instant, the entire group fell silent, gazing at Nguyen Lin Shu. They had initially wanted to witness her beauty, but were instead met with this sight. Their curiosity quickly dissipated. "I thought she was a beauty, but it's truly disheartening." "You may leave now," the boss hastily gestured. With Nguyen Lin Shu present, he found it impossible to even eat. Thus, he swiftly ordered her to depart. Meanwhile, Nguyen Lin Shu trembled in front of these people. She felt utterly stripped of her dignity. Nguyen Lin Shu spoke softly. "If I am causing you discomfort, then I have nothing more to say." As she turned to leave, Li Jiamo remained silent, his expression unreadable. In truth, he regarded Nguyen Lin Shu merely as a tool. Once used, she could be discarded at any moment. At this point, Nguyen Lin Shu realized that she was the only one harboring feelings. She had become so distorted that recovery seemed impossible. Fortunately, the mission had been completed. She no longer held any value. Now, Li Jiamo's thoughts were clear. Nguyen Lin Shu could be discarded. Tools that have served their purpose should be thrown away. "Hey, General, doesn't she look just like a dog?" Before Nguyen Lin Shu had even walked far, mocking laughter erupted from behind. To Nguyen Lin Shu, those words rendered her utterly dehumanized. But Nguyen Lin Sung could only endure, while Mr. Chu humorously mocked her. It must be said that she truly resembled a stray dog. Under the scornful laughter of the bosses, Nguyen Lin Sung finally left this place behind. Meanwhile, at the newly purchased villa of Chen Yuan, he, along with his sister and Lum Chi Lak, were all present. The four of them, including Cao Hin Ning, had just finished dinner. At that moment, Lum Chi Lak's voice rang out. "Mo, it's still early. Let's head to the bar for some fun. You have no choice but to join us." He claimed that bars were filled with wayward girls. Now that it was nearly 11 p.m., he suggested that they shower and go to bed instead. Hearing Lum Chi Lak trying to drag her to the bar, Vung Mo immediately rejected him without a second thought. After all, Chen Yuan had warned her to never step foot in a bar. "You really listen to him, don't you? Aren't you bored sitting at home all day?" Lum Chi Lak retorted. "Not at all. The food here is delicious, and it's cozy. Plus, you're interesting, and I really enjoy being here." Vung Mo defended herself as the two sisters chatted happily. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. It was Nguyen Lin Sung, who had just endured humiliation. She turned back to find Chen Yuan. The two sisters immediately looked at each other, realizing it was very late. Coming back at this hour surely meant she was looking for Chen Yuan. As someone who liked Chen Yuan, Lam Chi-lak instantly became alert. When she opened the door and saw Ling Sung, she noticed that the latter looked quite dejected, standing at the entrance with a worried expression. "Sister Nwit, I'm back!" Vung Mok Mok quickly greeted her. In her eyes, Ling Sung was her elder sister. "Sister Nwit, what's wrong? You don't look well," Vung Mok Mok remarked, noticing that Ling Sung seemed off, as if something troubling had just happened. "Oh, I'm fine, really," Ling Sung replied, trying to reassure her. Naturally, Ling Sung couldn't share what had just transpired with Vung Mok Mok. She wouldn't speak of the humiliation to anyone except for that man. "Sister Nwit, take it easy. Let me help you," Vung Mok Mok offered, having noticed Ling Sung was still injured and hadn't fully recovered. Immediately, she stepped forward to support her. "Thank you, Mok Mok. I can manage on my own," Ling Sung said, touched by Vung Mok Mok's concern. She was a traitor, yet everyone still perceived her as the wealthy young lady. Behind them, Lam Chi-lak scoffed. She knew the truth. She was aware that Ling Sung was a spy sent here. Thus, despite seeing Ling Sung looking somewhat pitiful, she felt no sympathy whatsoever. "Thank you, sister. I know you're busy and probably didn't have time for dinner. I even saved you a portion of dinner. Today my brother cooked. If it weren't for him reminding us, we would have surely finished everything. Mr. Trun even left food for me and specifically mentioned." Ling Sung was taken aback. She never expected that Tran Vien would care for her this much. After all, she was only here to investigate him. The relationship between a boss and his secretary is often just a facade. Yet, Tran Vien had gone above and beyond. Soon after, Ling Sung began to eat the fried rice with egg that Tran Vien had prepared. She had tasted it once before. Now, as she took another bite, her feelings were different. It turned out that from the very beginning, Tran Vien had treated her like a real person, not just a tool. He was genuinely gentle. As she ate, Ling Sung couldn't help but shed tears, large drops falling onto her plate. The feeling of being cared for after being abandoned was overwhelming. It was so easy to be moved, and Ling Sung was no exception. "Oh, Sister Nwit, why are you crying? Your wounds will get infected if they come into contact with water. What's wrong? Who bullied you? I'll have my brother teach him a lesson." Wang Mok Mok clenched her fists. Ling Sung responded softly, "It's nothing, Mok Mok. I was just reminiscing about some things. By the way, where is your brother? I want to see him." At that moment, Ling Sung's affection for Tran Vien increased by 10 points. It had reached a total of 55. And right then, it seemed that Ling Sung had made up her mind about something, making a decision that would no longer leave her feeling confused. This included helping her regain her lost dignity. The beauty queen and her best friend stayed up all night investigating the secretary. They finally uncovered the secretary's extraordinary identity and analyzed that he was a commercial spy. Immediately, the beauty queen informed her friends. When the older sisters and her first love learned about the situation, they decided to go to Tran Vien's house to rescue him. The plan couldn't be delayed any longer. After being abandoned, Ling Sung sought out Tran Vien. Mok Mok said that Tran Vien had already gone to sleep. If there was anything, they should wait until tomorrow to talk to him. Why did he sleep so early today? Ling Sung wondered. In her impression, Tran Vien was a student who loved gaming and usually stayed up late. Why is he sleeping early today? He said he has been troubled lately and wants some peace and quiet. Wang Mok Mok gently pointed to Tran Vien's room, worried about disturbing him. Ling Sung initially had something to say to Tran Vien, but now she could only wait until tomorrow. My brother also said not to disturb him, so he went to bed early. But in reality, it was quite the opposite. At that moment, Tran Vien was in his room, drinking Coca-Cola and playing video games. He wasn't concerned about trivial matters, as long as it could be resolved with money. For Tran Vien, everything was manageable. Hence, he felt no worries about the current film project. Listening to his sister's words, Ling Sung also fell into contemplation. Indeed, recently, financial tycoons were intensifying their attacks on him, and right next to him were the red and white families. Moreover, The Huangyuan team is working together, so he must be suffering terribly. Yet, even in this situation, he remembers to leave food for me and even cooks it himself. Yue Song truly is a person of deep affection. How can I possibly repay him for this kindness? Thinking of this, Yue Song felt an overwhelming sense of guilt. In this emotional turmoil, her fondness for Tran Vien grew stronger, now reaching a level of 65. The next morning, a piercing scream echoed through Zhao Guoqi's villa. Finally, I've uncovered information about Yue Song. I spent the entire night searching, and I finally discovered that there is indeed something suspicious about Yue Song. Throughout the night, Qian Mengmeng kept her eyes wide open. As a top hacker, after a sleepless night, she had unearthed a wealth of information about Yue Song. Before entering university, she had no enrollment records whatsoever. She directly entered Fudan University at 17, then went on to Cambridge for her master's, completing 2 degrees while interning on Wall Street. From these points alone, it's clear that Yue Song is highly suspicious. But the intrigue doesn't stop there. She managed assets worth billions at just 20. By 22, she had become the secretary director at the Star Group. The Star Group, I feel like I've heard of it somewhere before. At this moment, Zhao Guoqi began to ponder. Indeed, she had heard of the Star Group, a powerful entity, yet she couldn't recall the specifics. The Star Group is owned by Li Jia in Ma Duo. Li Jia is a tycoon in the film industry with his own film studio. At this moment, Qian Mengmeng bluntly stated, "From these clues, we can infer that Tran Vien will face competition at the film studio." Yue Song is Li Jia's secretary. Analyzing this, the truth became crystal clear. The two friends chorused together, calling Yue Song a corporate spy. In this instant, Yue Song's true identity was finally revealed. However, they were unaware that Yue Song had been abandoned by Li Jia. Yet, this did not change the fact that she was indeed a spy. It's no wonder Tran Vien has been facing numerous business troubles lately. The land acquisition has also been fraught with difficulties. I must tell him about this. After learning the truth, Zhao Guoqi was extremely anxious. She quickly took out her phone to call Tran Vien, but the voice on the other end announced, "Sorry, the number you dialed has been turned off." Frantic, Zhao Guoqi wondered why his phone would be off at such a critical moment. With no other options, she decided to visit his house to talk, but now she didn't even know his address. Therefore, Zhao Guoqi called Tan Bangshui. Tan Bangshui answered, "Do you know Tran Vien's new address?" "I don't know either. What's going on?" "What, he has a corporate spy by his side. Wait for me, I'll go with you." After hearing this, Tang Bingshe felt a wave of anxiety wash over her. She immediately decided to join her junior sister in searching for Chen Yuan. Just then, Zhao Yujie called out to Tiao Ruoyu, "I have his new address." "What, he has a corporate spy around him? Is Bingshe also involved?" "I'll head out with you right now." In that moment, Tiao Ruoyu could no longer maintain her composure. This was a serious matter. All that filled the girls' minds was a singular thought to rescue Chen Yuan without delay. They needed to find him and clarify the situation immediately. Currently, few people knew about Chen Yuan's new address. Therefore, he had been living quite comfortably in recent days. His sleep had been truly refreshing. Early in the morning, when Chen Yuan opened the door to his room, he found no one to disturb his slumber. His sleep was indeed delightful. Suddenly, Chen Yuan squinted, catching a whiff of something wafting through the air. It smelled like delicious food. Then it hit him. Liu Ying was cooking breakfast. Chen Yuan doubted his senses, even thinking that Liu Ying must have lost her mind. She was actually taking the initiative to cook breakfast. It was as if the sun had risen from the west. The emotions surged. Was the secretary really falling for the CEO? Yet her identity as a spy would soon be exposed. In the morning light, Chen Yuan woke up to find Liu Ying bustling about the kitchen. "Secretary Liu, your initiative in cooking breakfast has piqued my curiosity. After all, cooking for oneself is certainly a positive sign." Chen Yuan casually approached her to greet. "The boss is calling. Hurry and taste this omelet." As he saw Chen Yuan awake and greeting her, Liu Ying's face lit up with joy. In reality, this breakfast was made entirely for Chen Yuan, as he had left dinner for her the night before. "Great. Let me see how skilled you are," Chen Yuan smiled, eagerly anticipating Liu Ying's culinary talents. The two then sat at the dining table and began to enjoy their breakfast. At this moment, Liu Ying's feelings were truly complicated. She recalled many things and formed various speculations. Liu Ying believed that, based on her psychological knowledge, Chen Yuan truly didn't care about his injuries. Just this thought was enough to make Liu Ying very happy, for no woman could ignore her own beauty. Then, Liu Ying compared Li Jia and Chen Yuan. The outcome was clear. In Liu Ying's heart, the two were completely opposite extremes. One was like the heavens, while the other resembled the earth, utterly contrasting. Was Chen Yuan truly different from other men? Liu Ying felt that Chen Yuan was indeed special. It seemed that he genuinely wouldn't reject her for her imperfections. Secretary Liu, this face of yours is considered ruined, isn't it? As a girl, she must be suffering greatly. Chen Yuan ate his breakfast while observing Liu Ying. He didn't show it outwardly, but deep down, he understood that Liu Ying was concerned about this matter. My face bears a scar, yet I've made it clear that I specialize in medicine and have begun crafting ointments. If the system isn't deceiving me, I will surely recover swiftly. Tran Vien plans to leverage his medical expertise to help Nguyet Lin Song heal the wounds on her face. At that moment, Secretary Nguyet will undoubtedly be deeply grateful to me. Thinking of this, Tran Vien can't help but smile inwardly. Indeed, he truly recognizes Nguyet Lin Song's abilities. If he could have her by his side, it would undoubtedly be a blessing. If one day I were to wrong you, what would you do? After a long pause, Nguyet Lin Song finally speaks. She wants to test Tran Vien's reaction a little. In truth, Nguyet Lin Song is also aware that her identity as a spy will eventually be revealed. Depending on what it is, if it involves money, no matter how much you lose or how your business fails, I will forgive you. Because I genuinely despise money, Tran Vien replies very seriously. But what he says is also true, as Tran Vien genuinely loathes money. After all, he has far too much of it. Upon hearing Tran Vien's response, Nguyet Lin Song falls into deep thought. If you knew I was a spy and aided other corporations to harm you, could you truly forgive me? At this moment, Nguyet Lin Song feels an overwhelming sense of guilt. Clearly on the brink of success, why can't I feel even a hint of joy? She wonders why this is happening, yet she remains unaware of the reason. Just then, the cheerful voice of Wang Mong Mong rings out. Oh, it smells so good. Have you and Sister Nguyet had breakfast yet? At this moment, Wang Mong Mong, Lam Chi Lak, and Cao Huingum step out of their room, bright and early. They spot Tran Vien and Nguyet Lin Song having breakfast. Nguyet Lin Song immediately stands up and says, "Of course, I've prepared something for everyone." She feels a warm affection for Wang Mong Mong, and cooking breakfast for this little girl brings her great joy. Sister Nguyet, you're still not fully recovered. Let me help you. Wang Mong Mong giggles, waving her hand for Nguyet Lin Song to sit down. Wang Mong Mong holds a fondness for Nguyet Lin Song in her heart to her. Nguyet Lin Song is like a wonderful big sister. Mong Mong, when will you become a part of my love? Lam Chi Lak suddenly exclaims. With breakfast just finished, we must eat. After all, the truth is he despises Nguyet Lin Song. Thus Tran Vien, along with the four girls, begins their breakfast together, creating a beautiful scene. Although Tran Vien doesn't have many thoughts, the girls thoroughly enjoy this feeling. Just then, an urgent ringing from the doorbell pierces the morning air, sounding frantic and continuous. All five turn their gazes toward the door. Who could be visiting this early? They are all quite curious. What could bring someone to ring the doorbell at such a morning hour? It's so noisy. Lam Chi Lak finds it unbearable. She immediately stood up, intending to open the door. It could be Sister Nuc Vu or someone else. This morning, Nuc Vu called me asking for my brother's new address. Surely, it's them outside. Suddenly, Vung Mot Mot remembered that Tio Nuc Vu had called her earlier today. Nguyet Lin Song felt a bit puzzled, as Vung Mot Mot mentioned not just one person, but they, indicating a group. It seemed like a few people. Vung Mot Mot quickly clarified, yes, they are some other sisters asking for me. They seemed quite anxious. They mentioned that there are corporate spies targeting my brother, and they want to inform him. But his phone is off, so they sought me out for his new address. Upon hearing this, Nguyet Lin Song was immediately stunned. She understood right away the gravity of the situation. Then, Vung Mok Mok wiped her mouth and decided to go open the door for Tionyuk Vu. When this door opened, all truths would be unveiled. The identity of the spy, Wit Ling Song, would be exposed. What would Chen Yuan's reaction be upon discovering this? Four goddesses arriving simultaneously to confront the CEO, just to unveil the secretary's secret identity. However, when the CEO saw the documents, he did not show anger, but instead pulled her to the balcony for a private conversation. As Vung Mok Mok opened the door, silhouettes appeared before her. Some she recognized, others were strangers. Yet they all shared one common trait: they were all incredibly beautiful. Among them, Tionyuk had met Vung Mok Mok before. The other three were unfamiliar faces, but Vung Mok Mok had no idea what brought these four sisters here. Nevertheless, she invited them into her home, vaguely guessing they might be looking for her brother, Chen Yuan. After all, Chen Yuan was never short on older sisters like Nu Nhi. Vung Mok Mok thought as she looked at them, they appeared quite fierce. Her brother often befriended such sisters. She wondered if he felt overwhelmed. The urgent situation left no time for explanations. Mok Mok, is your brother and Wit Lung Seung here? Tionyuk asked impatiently. She needed to meet Chen Yuan immediately to clarify the truth. They are all in the dining room. I'll take you there. This house is too big. I keep getting lost even with GPS. Since moving into this large villa, Vung Mok Mok had always struggled to find her way. Each time she entered or exited, she had to rely on GPS. Soon, the four were led by Vung Mok Mok to Chen Yuan. At that moment, Chen Yuan was leisurely enjoying a bowl of egg soup, savoring a delightful breakfast. He seemed unfazed by the sudden appearance of the four women. At this moment, the gazes of Trieu Ngok Ke and Tun Bung Tuit toward Wit Lung Seung were filled with hostility. Although they all liked Chen Yuan, they would never do anything to harm him. Yet, Wit Lung Seung felt completely differently, because she is a spy sent by the enemy. At that moment, Qian Mengmeng was losing her patience. She had spent the entire night investigating the true identity of Yue Longxiong, only to find Chen Yuan still eating, seemingly unfazed by the happenings around him. Unable to hold back, Qian Mengmeng slammed the documents she had gathered onto the dining table. Chen Yuan, stop eating. Do you really have no idea that this woman, Yue, is a spy for someone else? Here are her files, take a look for yourself. Qian Mengmeng pointed at the documents as she spoke. The documents clearly state everything. At this moment, Chen Yuan had just finished his breakfast. He glanced at the papers on the table, speechless. Oh, so she's a double master's graduate from Cambridge, a prodigy currently interning on Wall Street, managing billions of dollars. She works for Star Group. During her time there, she has completed dozens of mergers. Truly a remarkable talent. Looking at Yue Longxiong's information, Chen Yuan couldn't help but praise her. At just over 20, her career was already so brilliant. She had been directly recruited as Secretary Baiyu's assistant. As Chen Yuan perused the documents, he glanced at Yue Longxiong, who was keeping her head down in silence. She knew that the time for secrets was over. You've seen the truth now, haven't you? This woman is indeed a spy. You trusted her so much that you entrusted her with managing the Bay on real estate. Yet she didn't just squander hundreds of billions of your money, she also led you into traps set by major corporations. Chen Yuan, you need to wake up, Qian Mengmeng persistently reminded him. Sister Yue, you truly are Wang Mengmeng, which is somewhat unacceptable. I never expected that someone as gentle, knowledgeable, and clever as Yue would be a spy. Could it all be an act she orchestrated? At that moment, only Lin Jiluo remained calm. She found it amusing that these foolish women actually thought Chen Yuan was as naive as they were. People have long known it's all part of the plan. To be honest, I was the first to inform Chen Yuan. Does that mean I'm the woman he trusts the most? Thinking of this possibility, Lin Jiluo couldn't help but feel a surge of pride. If Yu Longxiong is indeed a spy, it means Chen Yuan has seen through everything long ago. Surely, Lin Jiluo had secretly devised a grand plan. Perhaps Yu Longxiong was unaware that Chen Yuan had used her identity to orchestrate a counterattack. Chen Yuan is truly a frightening intellect. It's true what they say from the very start. I approached the boss with clear intentions. I have nothing more to say. At this moment, Yue Longxiong finally spoke up. She knew this would come to light sooner or later, so she decided not to hide anymore. Upon hearing Yue Langshang's words, Chen Yuan finally made a move. He suddenly stood up, ready to handle the situation in his own way. Secretary Yue, let's go to the garden. I have something I want to discuss with you privately, Chen Yuan said as he patted Yue Langshang's shoulder. In truth, he had long been aware of Nguyit Langxung's true identity. Now that everything was coming to light, it was high time for Chen Yuan to take action. The 6 girls watched as the 2 of them walked towards the flower garden, and only then did they breathe a sigh of relief. At least this would aid Chen Yuan in some way. As for how he would deal with Nguyit Langxung, they had no idea. At that moment, Vung Mok Mok suddenly burst into tears. She felt a profound sadness wash over her. She truly never anticipated that Nguyit was a spy. Before this, she had asked me so many questions about my brother. I genuinely wonder if I may have inadvertently endangered him. With tears streaming down her face, Vung Mok Mok rubbed her eyes, feeling as if she had done something terribly wrong. All right, Mok Mok, stop crying now. Your brother has known about this for quite some time, said a voice of reassurance. Chen Yuan is far too clever to be outmaneuvered by anyone. Wipe those tears away. Being the one who understood the situation best, Lum Chilak, a close friend of Vung Mok Mok, quickly stepped forward to comfort her. What do you mean he always knew about Nguyit Langxung? Hearing Lum Chilak's words, the 5 others were taken aback. They realized that their worries had perhaps been unfounded. Chen Yuan was even craftier than they had imagined.